and welcome to today's session. So today we are going to continue the chapter number 1 with respect to the quality control. Okay. So before continuing this chapter, uh, one request. So if you have any doubts at any point in time, please ask and post in the chat box. I will be taking up if it is related to the same topic. So I will be taking up immediately. If it is related to if it is related to some different topic, as and when I'll get a time or before the break, we will take up those questions. But don't worry, just put your doubts in the chat box. I will definitely take it up. Okay. Okay, so let's have a quick recap of what we did in the last session. So we started with the SQC1, okay, where we understood what is SQC1, why it is required, what is the need of SQC1 when it comes to the the need for a standard when it comes to the difference between SA220 and SQC1. We discussed that in detail, like the need of SQC1. We discussed where it is applicable. We discussed the elements of SQC1. Remember, leadership, ethical requirement, acceptance, continuance, human resource, engagement, quality control review, okay, and monitoring and documentation. Like kind of a heal me scenario where I gave you a short form that, okay, by this way you can easily remember the elements of SQC1 or the elements of quality that is required. We saw some of the videos in the last session, okay, where we linked, okay, with respect to the whole of the audit, with respect to the quality control, and one was on the human resource. Clear? We discussed leadership. We discussed who is ultimately responsible. We discussed about the role of CEO, managing partner. We discussed about the ethical requirements, including the fundamental principles. We discussed on the human resource part. Okay. Now that was we discussed in the last session. Now we will continue with a very important part, is in acceptance and continuance of client relationship. Can anyone tell me, when I say acceptance and continuance of client relationship, what that means? What we are required to do in that? Anyone? What I mean by acceptance and continuance of client relationship? Anyone? So when I say acceptance and continuance of client relationship, what I do in that? What is a particular requirement in the acceptance and continuance? No? Okay, no worries. When I say acceptance and continuance of client relationship, as the name suggests, acceptance or the continuance of the client engagement or relationship with the client. When I say relationship with the client, is a professional relationship with respect to the engagement. So activities that we are required to do to understand whether we should continue the client relationship or whether we accept a new client relationship or not. Okay, so that is the part which is there in acceptance and continuance of client relationship. Now, why that is a part of quality? Reason because the firm wide there should be policies and procedures that should provide a reasonable assurance that when a firm is accepting or continuing a client relationship, they are considering all the requirements with respect to the acceptance and continuance. Okay, that they are considering the integrity of the client, that they are does not overlooking any threat to the compliance to the fundamental principles, that the particular us as a team are competent enough to provide the services or the kind of engagement that is there, that we can comply with the ethical requirements while performing the client engagement. Okay, So everything that we are required to undertake, or we are required to understand, that we have done that when we are accepting or continuing a client relationship. And for that we need to actually obtain some information before accepting a new client. And that's why I say that, having a policy and procedure which will list down what information you need, what you need to perform as a procedure, what you need to conclude, whether you can accept or not. And having such policy, procedure, or a system will give a reasonable assurance, yes, the firm is following the quality. The firm is following the quality. That is the objective. Clear? So that is we need to understand in the client acceptance and continuance of relationship. Okay. So we'll come to the notes part. Let's also simultaneously take notes, and we will discuss in detail the client acceptance and continuance. I would also recommend everyone to take notes with me so that they can have their notes ready by the end of the session, and these notes will be helpful when you will relook on the topic before a day of the exam. Just a minute. So we are saying that acceptance and continuation of client relationship. Just remove it here. Acceptance and continuance of client relationship. Now, what we are required to do, or as a firm, what firm is required to do? Firm is required to do, again, we will bifurcate this particular part. We will divide this particular part into three segments: who, when, and what. Okay, who, when, and what. So let's target the first, who is required to provide this kind of things in the firm. So the firm is responsible, again, the firm is responsible for establishing policies and procedures. So who is responsible? The firm. So the first part is the firm is responsible for establishing policies and procedures reasonable assurance that provides reasonable assurance. Okay. Now, when that assurance is required, the second part that we need to understand. When? Okay. When this assurance is required. Can anyone tell me when do you require this assurance? Just now we discussed, what do you think when we require this kind of assurance when it comes to the acceptance and continuance of client relationship? Anyone? When do you require this kind of assurance? No? Okay. So you require this particular assurance while accepting or continuing the client relationship. While accepting or continuing the client relationship, you need this kind of assurance. Sorry. When you accept and continue the client relationship, you need this kind of assurance. Okay, the assurance that the procedures. Now, who and when is done in assurance? What is required? So, who, when is done? Like, who will provide the assurance? When the assurance is required is done. Now, the third part is what is required in the assurance case. So, what is the third part? When I say what, can anyone tell me what assurance do you need? I discussed who need, I discussed when. What do you need in assurance? Can anyone tell me? If anyone has done a prior reading, so anyone, if you've done a prior reading, you will be able to understand what do you need in that assurance. What is the third part?
Fundamental principles are for not distracted from it is followed.
Okay, great. Anyone else? Guys, don't worry about correct or incorrect answer. Okay, I want everyone to answer so that you can learn. We are here to learn, so don't worry about, it will be a wrong answer, it will be a correct answer, incorrect answer. Don't worry on that.
Independence and related party, if any.
Okay, great. Anyone else would like to add something more? What do you think that we need in the assurance? Now, go to the topic client acceptance and continuance. So, based on the topic, you will be needing the assurance, like, whatever we are discussing. So, what assurance you would be requiring over there? Okay, I'll tell you. Don't worry. So, there are, as you correctly said, there are three major things. So, the required assurance is divided in three major parts. Number one is, has the firm considered the integrity of the client? Okay, has the firm considered the integrity of the client and does not have any information that it believes, that the firm believes, as a firm I believe that the client lacks integrity. So first is integrity of the client. So first thing, I need an assurance that before I accept or while accepting or continuing the client relationship, whether I have checked the integrity of the client. So you can say points to be checked. Okay. Second, that has the firm evaluated whether they have whether they are competent to perform the engagement or has the capability, time or resources to do that. Okay, so competency to perform the engagement, capabilities to perform the engagement, time and resources. Time and resources to perform the engagement. Okay, so basically I call it as a CCTR. That is CCTR. That is competency, capabilities, time, and resources. So whether you have a CCTR to perform the engagement or not. Third part is, can we comply with the ethical requirements? So compliance to ethical requirement means Simple way, if I am delivering a service, if I'm providing a service to a client, if I'm accepting an engagement with a client, while accepting the engagement, can I also simultaneously comply with the ethical requirements? Or by accepting the engagement, will I be able to comply with the fundamental principles? Or is there something which will impact my ethical requirement? Or there is some kind of relationship which will impact the ethical requirement? Okay, so these are the three things that I need to understand. Or if I summarize in a three letters, basically what it is: ICC. So you can say ICC is a thing that you need to understand whether the firm is doing or not, the firm is checking or not. That is integrity, competency, and compliance. Integrity, competency, compliance, ICC. Whether these three things are being checked or not. So if I talk about simply, when it comes, if I talk about in a simple terms, or in a short form, when it comes A and C, you always need to check ICC. Simple. When it comes to acceptance and continuance of client relationship, you need to check whether the firm has the policies and procedures in place while accepting or continuing the client relationship, to validate or to verify or to check whether there client is there any integrity with the client, or is there any evidence available or information available with the firm which lead us to believe that there is an issue with the integrity. Competency, capability, time and resource to perform the engagement, and compliance with the ethical requirements. Clear? Any doubt? So now we understood who, when, what. Okay, while accepting or continuing the client relationship, or what we need to do. Can anyone tell me, like for example, let's say, some examples that the firm should consider, like to evaluate these 3 points. So let's say, for example, if I want to consider the competency, capability, time and resource to perform the engagement, what should I do? What points should I consider in that?
Qualification, experience.
Very good. Yes. What else? Let's say you have a this question of 5 marks. Okay. For example, I'll just write the question and then we'll discuss point by point. Let's say, in considering whether the firm has capability, competency, and time. So in considering whether the firm has CCTR, I'm just writing in a short form, but do not use these abbreviation in the exam. Okay. So in considering whether the firm has capability, competency, time, and resource to a new undertake a new engagement. Okay. Or an existing continue an existing engagement. I would say then, what list down some specific examples that the firm should pay attention to. Simply means, I'm saying, you want to evaluate today whether the firm has competency, capability, time, and resource to perform the engagement. What things you will consider to evaluate this particular point? What things you will consider to evaluate these particular points? What will be the matters that you will consider?
Qualification, experience, and number of people available, and what
Yes,
is time means the firm time taken for completing the assessment engagement, whether the time is available.
yes, absolutely correct. What else? Any other examples? Anyone? Any other examples you have? What you will consider? Come on, guys. Some examples like what you will consider. What are the matters that you will consider? Anyone? No? Okay. No issues. I'll tell you. See, in order to consider whether the firm has capabilities, competencies, time, and resources, okay, to perform that necessary engagement, I need to consider few things, and those things are I need to consider whether the firm has personals with the relevant industry or the subject matter knowledge. For example, I'm doing a bank audit. Do I have a relevant people doing bank audit? Whether the firm has experience with respect to the regulatory. For example, I'm doing the insurance audit, whether my team has the relevant insurance audit experience, whether they know what are the requirements, or what are the, you can say, regulatory needs or legal regulations applicable in case of an insurance audit. Do I have the sufficient personnel? For example, I'm doing an audit of company having a turnover of 20,000 crore, 30,000, 40,000 crore. Do I have those many team members to perform the audit? I cannot do a audit of a 40,000 or 50,000 crore with just one team member. No, I need a team of at least 20, 30 people with me. Do I need expert? Do I meet the criteria and eligibility to have an engagement quality control reviewer? So all these things are there. What is the deadline? When I'm when I'm being hired? Sometimes you get hired when other CA resigns, or there's a casual vacancy. In that case, do you have that much sufficient time to complete the particular engagement? Not only audit, but it could be XYZ certification also. So all these things are there that we need to consider when we are thinking about the CCTR. Clear? Any doubt? Any doubt? No? No doubts? Okay, no problem. Let's move further. Now tell me one thing. Let's say, for example, you accepted a particular engagement. Okay. Let's say, for example, you accepted a particular engagement. Now, after accepting some engagement, you come to know, oh, this information was not shared with me. As a result, now I should have not accepted this engagement. Let's say, for example, there was some critical information that was kept hidden from you. Let's say there was a subsidiary to whom you were providing, some kind of services under section 144, because of which you were not allowed to be appointed as an auditor for this particular parent company. But that information you gathered, or you came to know about after getting appointed, after accepting the client's engagement, then what you will do? I'm saying that you got the information, but after accepting the engagement, what you will do in that particular scenario? Anyone? Yes, Prashant, I am getting the answers. So anyone would like to answer on that? If you get information, but after getting that particular detail, what you will do? In that case, let's say for example, if I get the information subsequently after accepting the engagement, okay, if the information is obtained subsequently, okay, means if that information would have been available earlier, okay, I would have not accepted, or I would have declined that engagement if that information was available earlier. So in that case, what I will do, I will check the professional and legal responsibilities, number one. Okay. Number two, what I will do is I will report to the person who appointed me about that particular detail that I have received. So I will kind of inform the person who has appointed me. Additionally, I will also inform to the regulatory authorities after checking whether I am required to do so. If required to do so, then inform regulatory authorities. Okay, so these all things should be there. These all things at minimum should be there in your policies and procedures. At minimum should be present in policies and procedures that we are talking about. Then only we would say that yes, the policies and procedures are providing, or the systems and controls that are placed in a firm are sufficient enough to provide the reasonable assurance. Clear? Any doubt? Pretty much straightforward, nothing confusing on this particular part. So that was the acceptance and continuance of client relationship. Pretty straightforward. So just let's go through the notes quickly. The firm should establish policies and procedures, okay, about the acceptance and continuance of client relationships and specific engagements, because it is applicable to firm level, not only to audit level. Okay, that should provide a reasonable assurance while undertaking or continuing the client relationship. So that we discussed about who, when. Now what we need to consider, whether the client has the integrity. Okay, one is the integrity, second is the CCTR, capability, time, resource, okay, and competency, and third one is the ethical requirement. Okay, comply with the ethical requirements, ICC. So all these three things I need to have as a policy and procedure within my firm. That is acceptance and continuance of client relationship. Any doubt? Any doubt till now? No. Yes, consultation with the firm about such threats. Yes, Prashant. So, in case we are not able to continue or we should have declined that, I will consult, I will check what is my professional and legal responsibilities, including withdrawal. Totally agreed. Yes. The next part, and very important part, I would say, after the acceptance and continuance of client relationship, is the, we have already discussed the human resource. Then the next part comes is with respect to engagement performance. Remember last time when we discussed about the uh, human resource, we somewhere we discussed about the engagement performance. Okay, so what is that engagement performance? What we are required to do? Pretty straightforward, nothing difficult. Let us see. Engagement performance. Okay. Now, when I talk about engagement performance, okay, again, we will bifurcate this engagement performance in certain categories. Okay, what, when, and thing. Let's understand first of all who is responsible for engagement performance. Who? Who is responsible for quality control on engagement performance? Obviously, the firm. By default, the firm should establish policies and procedures. Okay, the firm should establish policies and procedures and design it in such a way that it provides reasonable assurance. Okay, that it provides reasonable assurance. Now, reasonable assurance when you need. The second thing is when. But when you need a reasonable assurance, and when I talk about reasonable assurance, okay, uh, then comes is the third part is what should be done to get that reasonable assurance. Now, when I talk about when we need the reasonable assurance, we need reasonable assurance while performing the engagement. While performing the engagement. Okay. And what we need in reasonable assurance, can anyone tell me quickly what we need in reasonable assurance? Anyone? What do you need in a reasonable assurance? Firm should have policies, procedures while performing the engagement. But regarding what? What do you want to achieve by having these policies and procedures? Can anyone tell me? Can anyone tell me what do you want to achieve by having these policies, by having these procedures?
That the engagement is carried on according to the standards and maintaining the quality.
Yes, very good, correct. What else? Anyone else would like to add something to this?
Documentation, proper
Yes,
documents, and the opinion is properly drawn, and how to draw it, training for the personnel involved in the audit or the
absolutely correct.
engagement.
Yes, absolutely correct. So, what we need when it comes to the reasonable assurance of engagement performance, we need that while performing the engagements, okay, they are performed in accordance with the professional standards, regulatory and legal requirements. So, while performing the engagement, that these engagements should be performed as per the professional standards. The engagement should be performed as per the professional standards, legal and regulatory requirements. Okay, and okay, and the ultimate thing would be that it should enable the firm, that the firm should be able to, okay, the firm or engagement partner basically who will sign the report, the firm or the engagement partner are able to issue reports those are appropriate, that are appropriate as per the circumstances. Means at the end, I want to issue reports. Those are appropriate and correct, and not incorrect reports, but the correct reports in that particular circumstances as per the engagement. That is I want to achieve through policies and procedures. The firm will try to bring consistency in the quality of the engagement performance. For example, can anyone give me an example like how the firm can, bring the quality when it comes to the performing the engagement? What I will do, what different the firm will do, what firm will do when it comes to the policies and procedures, what they will do to get okay, my engagement should be performed as per these standards. Let's say tomorrow I say you start your own firm, you have become CA, start your own firm. Tell me two things that you will do to ensure that all your engagements are being performed as per the professional standards, legal and regulatory requirement. What things you will do to ensure that?
Prepare a checklist, sir.
Yes, good. Anything else?
Regular training.
Yes, very good. What else you will do? There are lot many things that can be done. Lot many things. For example, I'll tell you. I can, create a audit manual for my firm. Software, tools. I can bring in the software and tools. I can draft standard documentation that okay, if you want to test this particular area, this is the standard documentation format that you need to at least follow, or minimum areas of the documentation. That these are the things that should be there minimum in your documentation. Matter specific guidance, subject specific guidance. I will brief my team before starting the engagement that how you need to perform the engagement. What are the critical areas, key areas? Okay, I can ask my team to read the engagement standards. I can provide training on them. I can provide coaching and on them. I can review the work of the engagement team so that I can understand whether they have performed the work in accordance with the professionals or legal standard or not. I will review your documentation, and all these things should be there in your policy. Then only your policy will be able to demonstrate that yes, the policy is demonstrating that the policy is demonstrating kind of a reasonable assurance that the firm, through its policies and procedures, has complied with the quality requirements of engagement performance. Okay, so when I say the firm, the what section, for what section here, you need to build up some things in your policy. For example, here the engagement should be performed as per the professional standards and legal and regulatory requirement. For that, you need to bring some things in your policy so that your policy and procedures in your firm can provide a reasonable assurance that yes, by following these policies, by following these procedures, people will perform the engagement as per the professional standards. Any doubt till now? Any doubt? No? Okay, if no doubts, then what I'll do is I'll proceed to the next area. Uh, Prashant, can you explain like integrity aspect of what? Can you just provide more details about your question? Okay. Meanwhile, I'll proceed to the next area. Now, under this engagement performance, there is one more area that I want to discuss is consultation. Remember yesterday also we discussed about three things. One was discussed at that particular point in time. The two points was kept separately that I told you that I will be discussing in detail. That is the second is the consultation. What is the consultation? Again, let's divide into three phases or three parameters. Simple. Who, when, and what. Okay. Now, when I talk about who, again, as usual, the firm, okay, should establish the policies and procedures, okay, that provide reasonable assurance, when. Now, that is a very important part. When do you need reasonable assurance? At the time of consultation. Okay, at the time of consultation. And regarding what? Regarding what? Can anyone tell me what kind of reasonable assurance do you talk about? Are we talking about here? Like, what do you need in reasonable assurance with respect to consultation? Anyone? What we are talking about, when it comes to the reasonable assurance? What do you need as a reason for a reasonable assurance? Like what we are talking about when it comes to consultation, about what you need reasonable assurance? Anyone?
Is that expert consultation, sir? Expert in certain field.
Yes. Yes, correct. What else? Okay, I'll tell you. When it comes to the consultation, there are four things that we need to understand and that the policy should provide reasonable assurance about. Number one, that appropriate consultations are taken on difficult matters. Okay, that appropriate consultations are taken on difficult matters. Wherever required, you should take a consultation wherever required. So appropriate consultations are taken on difficult matters. Second, the firm has the sufficient resources. The firm has the sufficient resources to enable appropriate consultations or to take appropriate consultations. When I say resources, means expert, ways and means to contact the expert, time, everything. Okay. Sometimes, consultations, when you take a consultation from outside expert, you have to pay charges. So, including everything. So, when I say sufficient resources, it covers all the aspects. Okay. Then the third part is nature and the scope of consultation are documented. Okay. And the fourth part is conclusions that are resulting from the consultation. Means fourth part is conclusions that after taking the consultation, what was the outcome of the consultation? Conclusions resulting from the consultations are documented and implemented. Are documented and implemented. Okay. So that, once you document and implement the consultation, you close the loop. From taking the consultation till document and implementation, you have to close the full loop of consultation. And for that, you should have a policy and procedure. Getting the point that appropriate consultations are made. So first of all, identification of the areas where you require consultation. Second, having sufficient resources to take those consultation. Third, documenting the nature and scope of those consultations. And the fourth, documenting the outcome and implementation of that consultation. This is known as also a full cycle of consultation. Full cycle. So, just a minute. Yeah. Full cycle, it starts with identification, okay, of the areas. Second, resources for consultation. Third, nature and scope. You define what is the nature and scope of the consultation, and then you document the conclusion and implementation. of the consultation, the full cycle. And then you again identify by conclusion and implementing, you may identify additional cycle, and it goes like this way till the time you are satisfied. Any doubt till now? Any doubt? No, no doubt. But I have a doubt. If you don't have a doubt, but I do have a doubt. So the doubt is, let's say after the consultation, someone told me to do X, but I'm not agreeing to that. Is it necessary that I agree to the outcome of the consultation? Can anyone tell me, is it necessary to get agreed on the outcome of the consultation?
No, sir.
So if you do not agree to the outcome, how will you implement that? If you do
Further
not agree to the outcome, then
expertise.
yeah.
Further, I'll
Sorry.
further we will get other expertise or until we are comfort with.
Okay, great. What else you will do? What else? Anyone would like to add? What you will do if you do not agree with the consultation? Let's say I do not agree with the outcome. Someone said me, okay, I did a consultation on, estimating the liability for a provision. The outcome that I have received, I'm not happy with that. I'm not agreeing on that outcome because of XYZ reason. I don't want to book liability on that much amount. I have a different calculation. What you will do? When you are getting confused, to answer that question, that okay, what should be done when there is a difference of opinion, that's why it becomes a very important area for the firm to have a policy and procedure. So the next part that I want to discuss is difference of opinion. Means here we need to understand what firm should do about difference of opinion, because it's a critical area. It's a matter of quality also. If I have a consultation, if I did a consultation, there is an outcome of the consultation, but I do not agree, there are chances that I may not comply with the legal and professional standard by not following the correct way. It could be there. Okay. So there could be a scenario where the consultation outcome is correct, or there could be a scenario where the consultation outcome is not correct. It's a matter of quality. How will you address that? As a firm, what firm needs to do? Again, we'll go to the three parts: who, when, and what. Who is the firm? The firm should establish the policies and procedures. The firm should establish the policies and procedures dealing with difference of opinion. Dealing with difference of opinion. Okay. When you have difference of opinion between engagement teams, those with those consulted, or with engagement quality control reviewer, engagement QC or quality control reviewer, or engagement partner. If you have a difference between any of them, I have a within team members, with the expert to whom I consulted, with the engagement quality control reviewer, with the engagement partner, or engagement partner has with team members, engagement partner has quality control reviewer, whatever, combination I'm talking about. So when there is a difference of opinion between these people, at that point in time, the firm should have policies and procedures to deal with these differences of opinion and to provide a way to resolve the differences. Okay, so what is required at that point in time? Simple. This requires dealing and resolving the differences of opinion. Okay, and the second thing and very important thing is, this was the first part. Second is documenting the conclusion, reached, okay, and implemented. So let's say there is a difference between the team. Okay, the team, the the engagement team, and let's say two audit managers are there in an engagement team, Mr. A and Mr. B. They have a difference how to test this particular area. I cannot keep this difference of opinion, open till the time I sign the audit report. That is not good for the audit report, or that is not good for any of the engagement. Let's say Mr. A, he's the audit manager, and Mr. B is also an audit manager. Okay, big engagement. So big engagement team. Okay. Now Mr. A says that no, we should do XYZ testing for fixed assets. Mr. B says no, we should do ABC testing for the fixed assets. I have to close that difference of opinion. I need to perform either XYZ or ABC. So at the end, the difference of opinion should be closed, conclusions should be reached and implemented. Then only I will be able to proceed forward. I cannot keep difference of opinion alive and open till the end of the audit. No, I will not be able to reach to the, I will not be able to issue the opinion then. In that case, firm should have a policy or procedures in place which should help to resolve, or which should help in resolving these differences of opinion. After resolving, documenting the conclusions, and the conclusions that are implemented should be documented in a detailed way. About that also the policy should address, like how to document the conclusions reached and implemented. Okay, now the report should not be issued until the differences are resolved. Very, very critical point. And remember that that is always, the report should not be issued till the differences are resolved, or the conclusions are reached, or the matter is resolved. So you should not issue the report till the time the differences matters are concluded or resolved or implemented. Clear with respect to difference of opinion? So from consultation, first we started with the engagement performance. From there we came to consultation, then we came to the difference of opinion. Any doubt till now? Any doubt? Very good, Prashant. Yes. Okay. So your doubt is with respect to the integrity just before the CRT point in the acceptance and continuance. Okay. Let me explain that. Let me go back to that. Okay. Integrity of the client. Now, what I meant by integrity of the client and why this is required. See, when I talk about integrity of the client, okay, so it is very important when I accept a client relationship or I continue a client. Reason because the integrity of client will not only if there is issue with the integrity of the client, there are higher chances that impaired integrity will you know create an issue in my compliance to the fundamental principles. When I talk about integrity, let's say client is involved in such practices which is not ethical, illegal. Okay, he's involved into frauds. Cases are on client for the investigation of some embezzlement or something like that. So if there is an issue with the integrity of the client, then there are high chances that that impaired integrity will impact you in such a way that you will be not able to comply with the fundamental principles. For example, client deals in such kind of goods which are prohibited. Will you audit that client? Will you provide a certification for that kind of client? Okay. Or for example, client says that the principal owners or the directors of the company are having a lot of litigations of fraud on them, so the cases are going on. Or let's say there is some xyz reason of doubting the integrity of the client. Let's say they don't want to reappoint the previous firm just because the previous firm was doing a detailed audit and they want someone to not to look into more detail. For example, client was involved in money laundering, criminal activities. So there are a lot many things, and these things will turn back to you and will impact your fundamental principles. Trust me. That's why it's always advisable and mandatory to check the integrity of the client when we are accepting or continuing a client relationship. And the firm's policy should provide for that, so that you can say that the firm's policy is providing a kind of a reasonable assurance when it says that the policy says that you have checked the integrity or not. SQC1 talks about firm's policies and procedures, firm wide control, firm wide environment, and these are the minimum things that you should have in your policies and procedures. Any doubt? Any doubt till now? Any doubt? No? Okay. No further doubt is, let's proceed to the next topic that I want to take up. And very important topic again. That is EQCR, Engagement Quality Control Review. When we are talking about quality, how can we forget about quality control review? So that is the main part of the quality control review. Engagement quality control review. Sometimes we call it as a EQCR. Okay. Now, what is engagement quality control review? Can anyone tell me? Can someone give me some example? Explain that in some words. Like, okay, what is engagement quality control review? Can someone provide a brief introduction to this topic? Like, what is quality control review? Anyone would like to?
Proper standard is maintained while doing the engagement. fundamental principles have been followed, and personals are properly trained for the consent engagement.
Okay. So what happens in engagement quality control review? Who does that?
The engaging partner will looking. Means it is the responsibility of the engagement partner to look into the team, assigning the responsibilities, and he is responsible for maintaining the quality and controlling. Means having the review of whether that those things have been followed by the team properly.
Good. Okay. Anyone else would like to add something to this? What is engagement quality control review? Who does that? What they do in engagement quality control review? Yes, Sumit. Very good.
Sir, the partner who is giving his opinion is, uh, should not give his review report on this.
Yes. Yes. Anyone else would like to add something to the engagement quality control review? Anyone? Like what they do in that review, and who performs that review? Okay, I'll tell you.
Sir, this review is to be done before issuing the audit report, before
Yes, very
signing the
good.
audit report.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Now let's bifurcate this particular also in some portions. First of all, as we who we have a part who, when, and what. Again, who is responsible for the engagement quality control review? Part is the firm. The firm should establish policies and procedures. The firm should establish policies and procedures requiring appropriate engagement quality control review. Okay. Engagement quality control review. And that review is required. That review is required. Okay. Uh, when, or you can say before issuance of the report, as correctly pointed out, it is required before issuance of a report. So when I'm talking about this, policies and procedures should require the completion of engagement quality control review before a report is issued. Okay. Now, what is required to be done in engagement quality control review? That is a very big question. That is, we need to understand the what part. When I talk about the what part, it is the engagement quality control review actually provides you an evaluation of the significant judgments that you have made, or the engagement team have made during the audit, or the conclusions that have been reached during the audit. Means someone other than the engagement team review the significant judgments, conclusions, critical areas, testing performed, work papers, documentation, what has been done by the engagement team, so that he can say, okay, engagement team has done appropriately. Someone experienced, maybe within the firm, maybe outside the firm, but not of engagement team, not the engagement partner, they review additionally So manager, engagement partner, director will review. That is, will be there. But over and above that, a third person who is not related to the engagement team, engagement partner, independently, he will review the significant judgments. He will review the conclusions reached. Okay. So what he will do is, number one, what is required to be done is review of significant judgment. Second, review of conclusions reached, okay, in formulating the report. Then while reviewing, okay, that engagement quality control reviewer, okay, will review the nature, timing, and extent, the details of that particular engagement, documentation, and everything. Not only one part, but every part. Okay. Plus, over and above that, this particular policy and procedure should also provide, number three, that when I say, the firm should establish policies and procedures requiring appropriate, this appropriate over here, I'll do a star mark to this one. This is a star mark over here. What is appropriate? Appropriate or engagement quality control review means the policies and procedures should set out that all listed entities, okay, or you can say audit of all listed entities. Apologies. Audit of all listed entities should be part of EQC. Engagement quality control review. Okay? Should be part of EQCR. Fourth, again, that is part of the star mark only. Now, I talked about audit. What about others? Other than audit? Or all other audits, not the audit of financial statement I'm talking about. Here I'm talking about audit of financial statement of listed entity. So this audit is audit of financial statement. But what about other audits? So the policy should set out criteria for EQCR for all other audits and other assurance related engagements. Okay, so should set out criteria for all other audits and assurance related engagement criteria, that when that particular audit or when that assurance engagement should be part of EQCR. And fifth number, should set out criteria, okay, should set out criteria, you can say that all meeting that criteria. Let's say I have an XYZ criteria. If the turnover is this, if the net worth is this, client score is this, XYZ. If the criteria is met, then the EQCR must be done or EQCR should be done. So if criteria is met, then EQCR must be performed. That should be part of your policy and procedures. Okay, that should be part of your policy and procedures. Now, when I say EQCR must be performed, that EQCR, that policy and procedure should also provide nature, timing, and extent of EQCR. That should also provide criteria for eligibility of engagement quality control reviewers. So someone will review. So criteria for the eligibility of the reviewers, like who should be selected as a reviewer. Okay. Then documentation criteria for EQCR. Okay. Are you getting the point? So engagement, nature, timing, and extent of EQCR, criteria for eligibility of reviewer, documentation criteria for the EQCR, all these things should be part of your policies and procedures. Any doubt? Any doubt till now? Any doubt? Now tell me if you have no doubts. I have few questions to ask. Mr. A, the engagement partner on audit of XYZ Limited, selected Mr. K, who is the member of institute, and freshly qualified as EQCR, or as a EQCR or reviewer, basically engagement quality control reviewer. Engagement quality control reviewer. Okay, the engagement partner on the audit of XYZ Limited selected Mr. K, who is the member of institute and freshly qualified as an engagement quality control reviewer.
No, sir.
What is the problem in this?
Means as the reviews done on the major parts of the engagement, the person should be enough qualified to judge whether that is
Great, absolutely correct. He should be qualified. He should be experienced. Okay. Now what I'll do is I'll remove this freshly qualified. I say 20 years of experience.
he is relevantly he has experience in the relevant field.
Okay, relevant field. Perfectly fine. So what I'll do is 20 years of experience in the type of business that XYZ Limited is involved into.
He should be the partner of the firm, sir. So it is not mentioned whether he is a partner. It is just mentioned he is a member of institute.
He is, let's say, he's also partner of the firm. With he's also partner of the firm. I added this line also. Now tell me, do you think this is fine?
Maybe it should. Mr. A can't directly select the Mr. K as a
Absolutely.
reviewer.
Yes. So when I say policies and procedures should set out a criteria, then that particular part over here, if you see that particular part of the criteria should not be like this. Okay, I'm the engagement partner, I will select this person. No, that defeats the purpose of engagement quality control reviewer or engagement quality control reviewer. Engagement quality control reviewer should be independent. If it is selected by the engagement partner, then how it can be independent? There's a biasness, there are the chances of the biasness involved. That's why I said the criteria should be set out by the policies and procedures. The selection, how the selection is required to be done should be set out by the policies and procedures, not by the engagement partner. So with this, we understand that engagement partner should not select the reviewer. Very important point that we learned. Okay. Any doubt till now? Any doubt? Any doubt till now? Sorry. No? No doubts? Okay. If no doubts, then what I propose is let's take a quick 10-minute break, grabs whatever we have discussed till now. After the break, we'll continue the session. Okay? Let's take a quick 10-minute break. Ashok ji? Okay. Welcome back. Let's continue the session. So what we were discussing about? We were discussing about engagement quality control review. Okay. We discussed in detail about the engagement quality control review, who should select the reviewer, not the engagement partner, and the other details that the policy should address. Plus the documentation side, we also discussed that. Now the next part again we need to discuss is documentation monitoring. These are the two important areas that we need to discuss: engagement documentation and then monitoring. Engagement documentation. Okay, what is engagement documentation about? Now again we will be finalizing, we will be discussing this in three different parts: who, what, and when. Who, when, and what. Who talks about, like, who is required to have policies and procedures around engagement documentation is the firm. So the firm should establish policies and procedures. The firm should establish the policies and procedures. Okay, for what? For engagement teams. Okay, for engagement teams, for engagement documentation, basically for engagement documentation. Now when this policies and procedures, or when the documentation is required, when the engagement team wants to complete the assembly of final engagement files. So at the time of completing the assembly of final engagement file, okay, on a timely basis. So when you are completing the assembly of the file, at that time there should be policies and procedures. Now what these policies and procedures should do? These policies and procedures should provide that when to complete. Okay, now here what includes my important part is when to complete assembly. And how to complete assembly. When I say assembly, that means, gathering all the documentation, arranging in a file, keeping in such a way that tomorrow if someone wants to review the documentation, they can review it in a simple way. Okay, so when to do the assembly and how to do the assembly should be there in your policy. The firm should establish policies and procedures for engagement teams to complete the assembly within a timely basis or within a provided time, okay, and in a particular way, and that time and the way should be there in the policy. Now the policy should also address the issue of custody, confidentiality, integrity, accessibility, retrievability of the engagement documentation. So not only assembly but beyond assembly. I call it this as a beyond assembly. Okay, I assembled particular, what you say, documentation. So assembly is done. Sorry. So beyond assembly is something we need to focus upon. So let's say I assembled the documentation and it is done. It is dusted, done and dusted. But what after that? Let's say someone wants to retrieve it. Someone wants to, let's say, review it for some XYZ reason. Or who is maintaining that particular documentation after assembly? in whose custody it is. Like, how will you ensure that integrity is still there? Once you assemble the documentation, you close the file. It is just like closing the audit file. Once you close the audit file, who is looking after the documentation, who is maintaining the documentation, integrity of the documentation, accessibility, retrievability, all these things comes into the picture, and that should be addressed by the policy and procedures. Then one more part is a retention of documentation. What is the retention period that should be there? Okay, when, at what time the retention should kick in, or I can count, okay, the retention is over. Let's say usually people keep 7 to 10 years of retention based on the laws and regulations, but what to do after retention? From when we count 7 to 10 years? So all these things are required to be addressed and provided by the policy. Any doubt till now? Any doubt with respect to this? Pretty much straightforward. Engagement documentation. Nothing difficult in this. Straight and easy. Straightforward. Any doubt? No? Last but very important with respect to the element that we have talked about. See, we discussed multiple elements till now of the SQC1. We discussed leadership responsibility. So policies and procedures on leadership. We discussed policies and procedures on ethical requirements. We discussed policies and procedures on acceptance and continuance. We discussed policies and procedures on human resource. We discussed policies and procedures on engagement quality control review. We discussed policies and procedures on engagement performance, including consultation. Okay. We discussed so many policies and procedures with respect to the quality. Is it something that I need to make the policy one time and that's it, I'm done? Can anyone tell me this is a one-time process? So I'll put in other words. Whenever you test a control, you test two things about that particular control. Let's focus on the first control. You test two things about that particular control or procedure. Can anyone tell me what are those two things that you test about the control? When you test a financial, internal financial control, internal control, you test two things, particularly two specific things. Two type of tests are there. Anyone can tell me? No? No one? Can anyone tell me about those tests? Like there are two type of testing we do about the controls. Which are those two type of testing? Come on guys, quickly. Pretty much easy, don't worry on that. Don't think of the correct or incorrect answer. Just try to answer. No? Okay. So have you heard about design and operating effectiveness? The testing done on the design and operating effectiveness? Yes, no? Or I'll put in other words. Let's say these are the policies. At the start of the, let's say, FY 2020. I drafted all these policies and I made all these policies, and these policies are, then never looked into. Is it fine? Yes, no. I think this is pretty much easy. I created a policy in 2020 on all these topics. That's it. After that, no one looked onto the policies. Is it sufficient and compliance with the quality control requirements? Yes, no. Okay. So it is not sufficient, guys. Not at all sufficient. The reason because it's not a one-time activity that we are doing over here. Is it a one-time activity? Prepare the policy, prepare the procedure, done and dusted. No, it is a continuous activity. This particular part, a continuous activity. Okay, why continuous activity? Reason because that it is not something that okay I prepared today and then it is there on the paper. It is not like that. So if it is a continuous activity, then to make it continuous, I need one more element to this. This is monitoring. Monitoring is the element or is the area of the quality control that is or that brings all other areas and all other elements into a continuous mode. So when you do a continuous monitoring of the other areas, that itself brings the other areas into a continuation mode. Okay, so monitoring is the important and the area which keeps the quality continuing, and that's why EQC1 also provides that the again about the quality monitoring. So it says that the firm should establish policies and procedures that are designed to provide reasonable assurance, that system of quality control system of quality control is or are system of quality control are relevant, adequate, operating effectively, okay, complied with in practice. Okay, so it says that the system of quality control should be relevant, adequate, operating effectively, and complied in practice on ground. These policies and procedures should be evaluated on an ongoing basis. Such policies and procedures should be part of an ongoing consideration, ongoing evaluation. periodic inspection. So that brings the third part, which is periodic inspection or ongoing evaluation. Okay, periodic inspection and ongoing evaluation, that should be there. Are you getting the point? So monitoring makes these things continuous, and that is the element of quality control. Now, again, when I talk about monitoring, let's say for example, if there are deficiencies noted in the monitoring, what you will do? What you will do? Let's say for example, the monitoring brings you some issues, observations, and tells you that okay, some of the policies are not working, they are not being followed. What you will do? Anyone? No? So when I talk about issues and observations identified during monitoring, the firm's policy should provide how to address those issues and observations. So issues noted in monitoring. For these issues, okay, which are noted in monitoring, so there can be two type of issues. One, which are kind of one time, or they do not indicate that there is a insufficient quality. So one off kind of thing, one off instance. These kind of instances, they do not impact the overall quality control. These are the one off instances, they do not impact the overall quality control. And then we have the deficiencies, which is known as the systematic or repetitive. Systematic, repetitive, and you can say other deficiencies. Okay, so these are such kind of deficiencies which require action. They require action actually. So one is a one-off instance, they don't require action. Second, they are the systematic, because your systems, your policies and procedures are designed in such a way that they are kind of creating those issues, or they addressing the quality issues. Okay. uh, Second is repetitive, they are repetitive in nature. Other deficiencies, they require action, some action from the firm's side. And once you identify any of the thing, any of the, okay, whether it's a one of the instance or they require observation or action, for all the instances, you are required to communicate to engagement partner. So communication to engagement partner and appropriate personals in firm must be there. Okay, so communication should be there. Now what should be the part of, what do you want to communicate to them, what to communicate? So in communication, okay, first of all you need to do a evaluation of the deficiency. Okay, what type of deficiency was there? So you need to evaluate the deficiency, take remedial action. Okay, then communicate findings to those responsible for training and development. So communicate to training team, that those so that they can train and coach other people in organization or in firm. Communication to training and development team. Changes made to quality control or policies and procedures. If you have made any changes, then that. And the final one is the disciplinary actions. So disciplinary actions that are taken against those who fail to comply with these policies and procedures. All these things are required to be communicated, or at least, not if not communicated, then must be, at least must be documented. Okay, and this is the ongoing process, so this requires your annual review. Annually a review happens and all these things are understood, and at least annually these things should be reviewed. Clear? Any doubt with respect to monitoring? Any doubt? Now, when I talk about issues noted in the monitoring, whatever we have discussed, these should be part of your, these should be part of the firm's policies and procedures. Means firm's policies and procedures should address these areas, that what to do when issues are identified, what to do when you note issue in monitoring. So you should communicate to engagement, and what should be communicated, this should be communicated. These things should be there in the policies and procedures, and then they should be complied in practice on paper. That these should be complied in practice, not on only on paper. Clear? Any doubt? Any doubt? From this comes the next point that I want to discuss. When I talk about issue noted in the monitoring, like one-off instance or repetitive instance, from where this issue comes, either these issues come from annual review, or these issues come from allegation and complaints. Okay, either these issues come from allegation and complaints or annual reviews. There are two parts from where these particular things comes. So I'm talking about source. Okay, source of issues noted. Now, when I talk about annual review, so annual review should be performed, and there are things that the policy and procedure should specify that we have discussed. Now, what about allegations and complaints? What firm should do when they receive the allegation and complaints? Again, who, when, and what. So the when allegation or complaint is received, okay, then firm should have policies and procedures, okay, policies and procedures again to provide reasonable assurance. When reasonable assurance? When complaints and allegations are received. And reasonable assurance about what? Then reasonable assurance about two things. One, that complaints and allegations that the work performed by the firms fail to comply with the professional or legal standards, okay, are appropriately dealt with. Are appropriately dealt with, okay, and uh, if there is any remedial action, then that action has been taken. If any remedial action required, then such action has been taken. Okay, so what is required by the policy? That they are dealing with the complaints and allegations in the way that is required to be done, and then they are taking the actions if any required. Yeah? So that should be part of your policies and procedures as a part of the quality control. Any doubt? Any doubt till now? Any doubt, guys? No? No doubts? If no doubts, then shall we take some questions on this particular topic so that we can, increase our understanding on the topic? Okay, let's take some questions on this one. Let me bring to that. So the question is, Dhananjay and Associates, a firm of chartered accountant, has been operating for last 20 years, having its office at multiple locations across India. The firm has a staff of around 100 persons with 12 partners. The firm has been offering assurance and advisory service and tax advisory service to its various clients. The primary work for the firm is tax advisory. The audit partner within the firm discussed that the firm needs to work significantly to improve the quality of the service they offer, which would also help the firm to grow its business. Considering this objective, the firm started mandatory training program for the staff. During one of the training programs on the quality control for the audit, Mr. Meath, one of the audit managers, inquired regarding the information firm should obtain before accepting an engagement with a new client, or when deciding whether to continue an existing engagement, or when considering acceptance of a new engagement with the existing client. So you are required to guide Mr. Meath with respect to the information that assists the engagement partner in determining whether the conclusion reached regarding the acceptance and continuance of the client relationship and the audit engagement are appropriate or not. Pretty straightforward. We have discussed this part. Read the question. I'll give you 2 minutes again, 2 to 3 minutes. Read the question and try to answer. Okay. Read the question. Take it 2 to 3 minutes more, but try to answer. Come on, guys. So what do you think that you would provide, what details you would provide to Mr. Meath in this case? What details you would provide to Mr. Meath in this particular case? Anyone? Pretty easy, isn't it? No? So what details you would provide to Mr. Meath?
The acceptance and continuance of client relationship.
But about
Guidance, policies and procedure, what the firm has decided according to the SQC1, acceptance and continuance of client relationship.
okay, but see, now Mr. Meath wants to understand that what are the things he should look into when considering the acceptance of a new engagement or client continuance. So what policy should be the, what points should be there in the policy?
Integrity of the client and the competence capabilities. Those things we discussed in that acceptance and continuance of client relationship.
Absolutely correct. Yes. So we discussed about the integrity. We discussed ICC. Remember, when it came to ANC, we discussed about ICC, that is integrity, competence to perform the engagement, has necessary capabilities, time and resource. That is nothing but CCTR. Remember, and we discussed whether the comply with the ethical requirement. So any significant matters that are arising during current or previous audit engagement and their implications, we discussed that only. So these are the points that should be added to the policies and procedures, and that should be provided, and this is the details that should be provided to Mr. Meath. Clear? Any doubt? Any doubt? Okay, if no doubts, then let's see in continuation one more question. In continuation to the book question, Mr. J, one of the audit managers, inquired about the responsibility of the engagement partner with respect to the assignment of team members. Mr. Anurag, one of the trainers, explained to Mr. J that the engagement partner shall be satisfied that the management and any of their experts who are not part of the management collectively have appropriate competency capability to support the audit engagement in accordance with the professional standards and regulatory and legal requirements. However, certain trainers participants were not satisfied with the explanation provided by Mr. Anurag. So you tell me whether the explanation provided by Mr. Anurag is correct or not. Read the question once more and try to answer. Come on, guys. What do you think? Whether the answer by Mr. Anurag is correct or not?
No, sir. The engagement partner will be responsible for assigning the uh, work and the dedications according to the expertise of the team members.
Okay. But when it comes to the assignment of the team, assignment of the engagement team, what engagement partner should look into?
Relevant qualification.
And whose relevant qualification?
For team members
And
and
what
also the
Mr. Anurag
engaging
is saying
partner.
here? So what Mr. Anurag is saying here? Mr. Anurag is highlighting that the engagement partner shall be satisfied with the management and any of their experts who are not part of the management collectively have appropriate competency and capability. We never talked about management competency. We always talked about the competency of engagement team members. Are you getting the point? So here the responsibility of the engagement partner when it comes to the assignment of engagement team members is with respect to the competency and capability of the team members, not of the management. We talk about integrity of the management, not CCTR of the management. So that's why Mr. Anurag is incorrect. And the correct answer is that
So can you please explain the question once again, sir? I'm a little confused with the question.
So see, this question is in continuation with the above question only. Okay, that we discussed this one. So the audit partners in the firm, they were discussing to improve the quality of the service. Okay, and they started training programs. In the training programs, they were discussing about what should be added to the policies and procedures of the firm. And one of the manager has a doubt that what about the responsibility of the engagement partner with respect to the assignment of engagement team, what should be added with respect to the policies and procedures on this area. So Mr. Anurag said that he was a trainer on that program. He said that engagement partners shall be satisfied that the management and any of their experts who are not part of the management collectively, okay, should have the appropriate competency capability to support the audit engagement. but that is not correct. The policy and procedure should include that it is the responsibility of the engagement partner to check whether the engagement team has the quality, competency, capabilities, time and resources to perform the engagement.
Yes, sir. Understood. Thank you, sir.
So that is the issue over here, and hence Mr. Anurag is incorrect with the answer. So the correct answer will be that the capabilities, competency of the engagement team. Any further doubts? Any doubts? No? No doubts? Okay. If no further doubts, let's proceed to SA 220 now. And let's understand the role of SA 220. Okay. In again, whatever we have discussed with respect to the SQC1, how it is different. When I talked about SA 220, I talked about, SQC1 is on the firm's level. But on the engagement level, that is specific to the audit, there is a SA 220 that talks about the requirement for the quality control of an audit of a financial statement. Okay. And when I talk about SA 220, it is on the line of a SQC1. It is not different because whatever we have discussed on the firm level, the same is required to be replicated. The same is required to be implemented at the engagement level. Okay, the same is required to be implemented at the engagement level. Now, what we will do is okay, I will ask you what is the requirement of this particular element from the quality control at the firm level, and then we will see that how to implement that at the engagement level. Okay. So by this way, you will be able to understand and remember the SA 220 and SQC1 in much detailed way. Now let's SA 220. The name of the essay is very important. So at the time of the writing the answers in the exam, you need to write the correct name of the essay. It's not like that you can write anything. You have to write the correct name. That is the quality control. Okay, for an audit of financial statements. That is SA 220. Now again, as we discussed in as we discussed in SQC1, similar way SA 220 has some of the elements of the quality control. Some elements of the quality control, and those are: one, leadership; second, acceptance and continuance; third, engagement performance; fourth, engagement quality control review; and fifth, monitoring and documentation. Okay. Now, you guys will tell me each and every requirement that we discuss in SQC, and I will tell you how to convert that for the SA 220. Now tell me, what was the requirement for the leadership in SQC1? What was the requirement of leadership in SQC1?
Firm to design the policies and procedures to promote the internal culture of the quality of the work done, And managing partner or CEO of the firm will be responsible for the same. And appropriate and sufficient knowledge and quality to perform the task, whether the firm means the leader holds that qualities.
Wonderful, absolutely correct. Yes. Now that was SQC1, that the firm is required to design policies and procedures. But when I have to bring, and when I talk about leadership, SQC1 says that the firm should have the internal culture where the managing partner or the CEO are the ultimate responsible person. Here we are not talking about firm, we are not talking about policy procedures, we are talking about the audit of a financial statement. And in that scenario, who is the head with respect to the audit engagement, audit of a financial statement, is the engagement partner, correct? So instead of firm, we will now refer to the engagement partner. Earlier, the firm was at the top level. Now the engagement partner will be at the top level, because we are talking about one engagement. For one particular engagement partner is on the top level. So engagement partner has to take the responsibility, ultimate responsibility for the overall quality of the audit engagement, of that audit engagement. Now understand, SQC1 talks about that firm should have policies and procedures. Firm should provide a reasonable assurance. When I come to a SA standards, SA 220, it provides the responsibilities of the auditor. It provides what auditor is required to do, what auditor is required to assume, or what auditor should do. Here, the engagement partner, the auditor, who is the engagement partner, should take the ultimate responsibility, not the policies and procedures. That is done. Implementation of the policies, procedures, reasonable assurance about the policies and procedures, everything is done. Now, auditor has to take the responsibility, ultimate responsibility for the audit. That is the first requirement of the quality control. So these all are we are talking about as the requirement. Whatever we will be discussing, these are the requirement of quality control. Now these requirements are required to be followed by the auditor. So whatever we will do or whatever we will discuss, auditor has to follow that, because that is the requirement of SA 220. Okay. Second, when I talk about when I talk about acceptance and continuance, apologies. Yeah. When I talk about acceptance and continuance, okay, what do you think about acceptance and continuance? What do we discuss in SQC1?
Firm is responsible to establish policies and procedures regarding the reasonable assurance of acceptance and continuance, while accepting or continuing the client relationship, and ICC to be checked into integrity, competency, and compliance.
Perfectly correct. Yes, great. Now, if I have to cover or if I have to convert that acceptance and continuance in the form of the SA 220, I will make engagement partner responsible for that. Now, engagement partner should be satisfied. Okay, should be satisfied regarding the appropriate procedures or should be satisfied that the appropriate procedures for the acceptance and continuance of client relationship have been followed. Okay, so engagement partner should be satisfied that appropriate procedures have been followed. Okay, so here I will make engagement partner responsible for the client acceptance and continuance, and he has to be sure that all the appropriate procedures have been followed. Now, where are those appropriate procedures? SQC1, integrity, competency, compliance, that is there, that we have discussed. But here it is the responsibility of the engagement partner. If engagement partner, let's say, remember we discussed where the firm, if comes to know about anything, okay, that that would have declined the engagement, but they somehow came to know after accepting the engagement. What was the requirement we discussed? So some information that was received after accepting the engagement, if that would have been received before accepting the engagement, we would have declined the engagement. So what we discussed in SQC1 regarding that?
They inform the person who has appointed him and check into the professional and legal responsibilities.
Yes,
And inform the
absolutely correct.
concerned person. If required, they inform the regulatory authorities.
Absolutely correct. So we discussed about the policies and procedures that check for the professional responsibilities, inform the person, okay. But now the question comes is, when we talk about knowing that detail would come from the engagement partner to the firm. Remember, so if that firm is an legal entity, artificial individual, artificial person, so engagement partner is the one who is the individual physically present on the engagement. He will get all the details and he will pass on to the firm. So that's why it becomes the responsibility of the engagement partner to inform to firm about issues or about matters that, if known earlier, that would have caused to decline the engagement. Till the time partner doesn't provide the information to the firm, how firm can do anything. So that's why we are discussing now the engagement partner's responsibility. He has to provide that information to the firm. We are coming to the engagement level now. Now partner is responsible, provide that information to the firm. Clear? Any doubt? Any doubt? Okay. Now, what we discussed about the assignment of engagement teams. In SQC1, what we discuss about the assignment of engagement teams, like how to allocate engagement teams, what should be the who should be the responsible for engagement teams?
The engagement partner will be
Okay, and
responsible.
what he needs to look after when assigning the engagement teams?
He sees that it is performed in accordance with the professional standards, legal and regulatory requirements.
Okay, yes,
And based on that, the reports are issued.
absolutely, yes. Over here also, when I talk about engagement team, assignment of engagement teams, engagement teams, okay, over here, engagement partner has to decide about the competency and capability of those. Engagement teams, competency and capability to be, you know, decided by or to be, analyzed by engagement partner. Engagement partner has to see whether the engagement team is competent enough to perform the audit or to perform the assignment or not. Okay, now let's talk about engagement performance. What we discussed in engagement performance in quality control SQC1. Anyone? What we discussed about the engagement performance in SQC1?
The engagement is performed with the professional standards and legal regulatories, and fundamental principles are followed.
Yep. And what firm should do for that?
It should have an policy and procedures.
Absolutely. Firm should have policies and procedures designed to provide the reasonable assurance that the engagement should be performed in a way that they should comply with the professional standards, legal and regulatory requirements. So over there, we are talking about firm's responsibility to have policies and procedures. Now, based on that policies procedures, we will make engagement partner responsible for direction, supervision, okay, and performance of engagement. Direction, supervision, performance of engagement in accordance with professional standards, legal and regulatory requirement. In accordance with professional standards and legal and regulatory requirement, so that the reports can be issued. Over there, we talked about who is responsible, firm, to have the policies and procedures. And in policies and procedures, make partner responsible. Now in audit, we are coming to that we not only policies, but SA also said for that audit, partner is responsible. Firm is responsible at the firm level to design the policies. But after designing the policies, partners become responsible for that audit, for the direction, supervision, performance of audit engagement in accordance with these standards. Are you getting my point? Partner becomes responsible for the detailed review. Earlier, we were having policies and procedures for the review. Now, partner has to do that review as per the policies. Earlier, we decided, okay, we will make the policy and we will make someone on the engagement to review those documentation. Now, as per the policy, partner has to take that responsibility. So that responsibility passed to the partner. One more part that I want to discuss, consultation. What was the requirement of the consultation in SQC1?
Appropriate consultation are taken on difficult matters, and there is sufficient resources to take appropriate consultation. And this, what is the nature and scope of the consultation? And importantly, we have to document what is the nature and scope along with the conclusion derived and the implementation.
Absolutely correct. Now, over there we talked about that the firm should have policies and procedures around that. Here, after having the policies, we say that policy and SA says that engagement partner is responsible at the engagement level for consultation. And when I say for consultation, engagement partner has to take responsibility for the engagement team to undertake consultation on contentious or difficult matter. Engagement partner has to satisfy himself that okay, members of the engagement team or the any other appropriate expert that has been appointed on the engagement audit engagement as an auditor's expert, they are performing the consultation. Okay, they are performing the consultation within the firm, outside the firm, as they want. Okay, then they are documenting scope and nature of consultation. They are documenting the conclusion and implementation arising from the consultation. And if there are differences, then these differences are resolved. So we are making engagement partner responsible for that audit. See, only having policies and procedures will not run the things on the ground. To apply or to run the things on the ground, you need someone to adhere or to apply those policies. That's why SA 220 says that engagement partner, you have to do things which is there in SQC1 for the audit. Matters are similar. There is no difference in that. Whatever you understood in the SQC1 will be implemented by the engagement partner on the audit engagement. Now we are talking about ground implementation at the engagement level or the audit level. Clear? Any doubt? I will this I will write it as a next page because I want to take it in detail. Then comes to the EQCR. Okay, what is the requirement with respect to the EQCR? What was the requirement with respect to EQCR in SQC1?
The firm should establish the policies and procedures requiring appropriate QCR, and it should be done before the report is issued. And they have to review the significant judgment and conclusions reached.
Okay. Yes, absolutely correct. So, same way, when I talk about my SA220. Okay, remember we discussed about that for the appropriate audit, there should be EQCR, which was listed entities. Okay, same way SA220 says that for the audit of listed entities, for audit of financial statement, for audit of FS of listed entities, or those other engagements, where the engagement partner is satisfied. Okay, over there should be EQCR, engagement quality control review. Now having a EQCR is not different, but making engagement partner responsible to have that is something different. Now here for this EQCR, engagement partner has to determine that, has to determine or has to ensure the reviewer is appointed. We are not asking engagement partner to select the reviewer. We are only discussing and we are only asking engagement partner to ensure that as per the policies and procedures, someone is appointed as a reviewer, or that appropriate person is appointed as a reviewer. We are not asking engagement partner to select reviewer. Understand the difference. Okay, so we are not asking engagement partner to select the reviewer. Then we are making engagement partner responsible. So engagement partner has to discuss significant matters. Okay, significant matters, or any matter that has been identified during the EQCR with the reviewer. Engagement partner has to discuss that. And engagement partner has to ensure that EQCR should be completed before audit report is issued. Simple. So we are making engagement partner responsible for these things. We are making engagement partner, okay, that you should implement whatever we have discussed in the SQC1 on ground for that audit. Same way for the monitoring and documentation. Nothing different over here. When we talk about monitoring and documentation, okay, we discussed that there should be a we discussed in SQC1 that there should be a monitoring process, okay, that should provide reasonable assurance that the firm should that firm is complying with the all the relevant, adequate, all the required policies and procedures or not. Okay, over there we discussed that. Over there was one specific point: communication to engagement partner. Do you remember that we discussed in the monitoring that communication should be done to the engagement partner and other appropriate person? Over here, what after the communication? Oh, that was one part that we discussed over here. Communicate to engagement partner. SA220 picks up from there that now, okay, you have communicated to the engagement partner. Now what engagement partner has to do? So engagement partner, again, I'll write it here, next page. So engagement partner has to consider the results of firm's monitoring process. Let's say firm is saying that you are missing something repetitively. Consider that result from the firm's monitoring process. Okay. And if any deficiency has been noted, okay, if any deficiency has been noted, then assess how that information is affecting the audit engagement. Now that was the monitoring, where one SQC left the monitoring by communicating to the engagement partner. On the other hand, SA220 took up that and asked the engagement partner to consider that communication. Any doubt till now? Any doubt? Are you understanding how SQC1 and SA220 are linked? They are different, but they are linked together. They are, in continuation. SA220 is in continuation of SQC1 at the engagement level. Any doubt till now? Any doubt? Clear with this? Yes? No?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. If you're clear with this, let us see one question and then, that will enhance our understanding about the topic. Manpreet Aerotech Limited's management contacted Alok and company to appoint them as a statutory auditor for the company. Before the appointment, Mr. Kunal, the new engagement manager, reached out to Alok, the engagement partner, to understand firm's requirement regarding the compliance with independence requirement. Mr. Alok explained to Mr. Kunal that the engagement manager should form a conclusion on the compliance with the independence requirement that apply after accepting the audit engagement. You need to comment on that. Read the question once again, invest 2 minutes and tell me what should be the answer for this. What you would like to comment on this. Come on, guys. What do you think?
It is not after acceptance, sir. It should be before acceptance that the
Yes.
independent requirement has to be checked.
Yes, absolutely correct. What else? There is one more thing. There is one more thing in this.
You should have given the policies and procedures of the firm regarding this independence.
Now tell me, who is the responsible to form the conclusion on the compliance with the independence?
Engagement partner.
And what the question says?
Engagement manager, it says it should be engagement partner.
Yes. So, Mr. Alok explained to Mr. Kunal that the engagement manager should form the conclusion. It is not the case. SA 220 talks about that the engagement partner has to form the compliance, a conclusion on the compliance with the independence requirement, and that too before accepting the audit engagement, not after accepting the audit engagement. And why SA 220? Let's say, for example, you don't have a, in exam, it will be difficult for you to understand whether to apply SA 220 or SQC 1. It's pretty simple, straightforward. We are talking about statutory auditor. We are talking about engagement partner. We are talking about audit engagement. Specific to that audit engagement, we are not talking about the firm's policies and procedures, or firm's system of quality control. We are only talking about specific audit engagement. That's why I'm applying the concept of SA 220 in the example. Are you getting the point? Any doubt till now? Any doubt, guys? Okay, good, great. Quickly, what we will do is, before closing on the chapter 1, let's go to the module quickly. Whatever we have discussed, how that is there in the module, okay, and how it is linked to whatever we have discussed till now, so that you can get familiar with the module also. We started with the audit quality. Okay. We discussed about the quality. We discussed about the SQC1. Okay. Then we discussed about the elements of the system of quality control. The elements which are there. Heal me. Then we discussed about ethical requirements. We discussed each and every element in detail. We discussed about accepting client relation, acceptance and continuance of client relationship. Remember ICC and CCTR. Then we discussed about policies and procedures for the withdrawal from the engagement. If we come to know something after accepting the engagement, we discussed about the human resource, engagement performance. Then we discussed about the consultation in difficult matters. We discussed about engagement quality control review, difference of opinion, engagement documentation, monitoring. Same way we discussed everything in SA 220, like how SA 220 links after the SQC1 when it comes to the leadership. Okay, so it says that, see, for engagement partner is the responsible. Engagement partner has to take the responsibility. Then we talked about the ethical requirements on the similar line, but everywhere we are talking about responsibility of engagement partner. Client's acceptance, again, responsibility of the engagement partner. Assignment of the engagement team, again, engagement partner has to ensure. Engagement performance, engagement partner's responsibility. So, as applying SQC1 at the engagement level and making engagement partner responsible. EQCR, difference of opinion, monitoring, documentation. Okay, there's a difference between SQC1 and SA 220 on the page number 1.19, and very important. So I will request you to go through that difference between SQC1 and SA 220. We have discussed in detail throughout the 2 sessions, but again, good to read. Now, There are other mechanisms for the quality review, not only SQC1, not only SA220, but other than that, outside the firm. So there's a peer review board. Okay, peer review board is there to conduct the quality review or to review the engagement performed by the firms based on the technical, professional, and ethical standards, including the regulatory requirements. So there is a peer reviewer who performs the examination, who reviews the entity's assurance engagement. Okay, and then on the basis of that, he provides the peer review certificate. It's just an introduction in your syllabus, peer review and peer review board. Okay, same way we have a quality review board. Quality review board again reviews the quality of your assurance engagement. They make recommendation to the council regarding quality of services provided by the members. They review the quality of service provided by the members, including audit services, and they guide the members of the institute to improve the quality of services. Then we have the NFRA. NFRA reviews the audits of the listed entity. They can monitor and enforce the compliance with auditing and assurance, accounting standards. They oversee the quality of services with respect to the profession associated with the ensuring the compliance of the auditing and accounting standards. So overall, they look after for the quality of the services provided by the auditors. Okay, and they see whether the accounting standards, auditing standards have been complied with or not for the listed entities. So they oversee the quality of audit service of listed entities falls under the purview of NFRA. And QRB, that is the quality review board that we just now discussed, reviews the quality of audit service other than those which are referred by the or which are reviewed by the NFRA. So first NFRA will look into the listed, other than these QRB will review. So that is in your chapter 1 that we have discussed till now. This is key takeaways. At end of every chapter you will find key takeaways, kind of a summary, quick references of what we have discussed. Very important. I would recommend this is also helpful to revise the chapter quickly. Okay, so there is some scanners for shortcut on engagement and quality control wisdom. You can scan and get additional material, and there are some additional questions at the end of the chapter, theoretical questions. Solve these first, write the answer, and then compare with your compare the answer which is given below with your answer. This is a must solve, must take these questions and answer them. So this was your chapter 1 on the quality control. Any doubt till now? Any doubt about chapter 1, whatever we have discussed? Any doubt? So we went through SQC1, we went through SA220, we went through the whole module, we discussed every topic in detail and how SQC1 translates at the engagement level into the SA220. Okay guys, so that was the chapter 1. If no further doubt, in the next session we will be starting with the chapter 2. Please read in advance, very important chapter, read in advance. Okay, and I would request everyone to practice as many questions as you can from different sources. For example, RTP, MTP, already there on the BOS portal, different questions we discuss in the class. At the end of the chapter, solve as many as you can, past papers, that will enhance your understanding. Okay, so please read and practice. Thank you, Anila, thank you very much. Thank you everyone for joining the session, for participating in the session. I'll see you in the next session. Thank you guys. Yes, thank you.